Am I the asshole for changing locks on my mother? I'm 29 male and currently live in an apartment that I recently bought. My parents helped me in choosing the property as well as the down payment, so I feel they deserve to be included in some things. I've always been close with my mom. I still stop by to eat breakfast and dinner. However, lately I noticed my mom has become more intense. Some things. My mom power calls me when she knows I'm with my GF. She insisted I date someone older who can take care of me. She wanted to know the net worth, salary, child plans, and relationship experience of my GF. She constantly belittles me because I have gained some weight. When I showed her my hemorrhoids, she said it's because of my eating habits. One day my mom burst into my apartment when my girlfriend was sleeping. We got into a huge fight because my mom doesn't approve of my GF, which resulted in a screaming match. I eventually changed the lock on my house, which my family is protesting and saying I'm a major awe. They said I should have consulted them first. I have not given them a new key. Reddit, am I the asshole? Okay, first of all, stop showing your mom your hemorrhoids. Now that that's out of the way, not the asshole. You're 29 years old. Not 9. You live on your own and mom having a key has obviously caused some boundaries to be crossed. Mom doesn't need a key. Your phone has silent mode. Use it. When I showed her my hemorrhoids, what? The boundaries are skewed because your relationship hasn't evolved past parent and child. Showing your mum your bumhole isn't appropriate between mum and adult child. That's only appropriate when you're a young minor. It seems to indicate that normal boundaries have never been established between you and your mum, so she expects to baby you as she always has. I think it might be a good idea to speak to a therapist about appropriate relationship dynamics, especially if you plan on having kids in the future, and to understand what's unhealthy about your relationship with your parents. Not the asshole. You and your mom have some seriously blurred boundary lines. Redrawing the key to your apartment line is just the first in a huge list of boundary lines that need to be reinstated, the least of which is definitely not the showing your mother your butthole line. Not the asshole, and please please please, more boundaries, not less. Info. Wait, you showed your mom your hemorrhoids? The comments are just as amazing as I expected they would be. You know, we all paused at that last bullet point, tears of joy. Putting the asshole in am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for saying I will never host another family event? We had a family get-together for Father's Day. My older brother, Adam 45, came over also. We all got pizzas. My son Drew, 14, is autistic and vegetarian. He also had food texture issues, so the only pizza he likes is cheese. Drew was waiting until everyone settled down to get his pizza to avoid him being overwhelmed. Adam, who normally eats Meat Lover's pizza, went second to last and grabbed the last 6 pieces of cheese and licked them in front of my son. So now he didn't have any pizza to eat. I called out Adam out and he laughed, saying, "Early birds." I got pissed and kicked Adam out of my home. My parents got mad, saying it was Father's Day and I'm ruining it for my dad. I ended up telling my mom this is the last family event that I will ever host at my home. We hosted everything since I got married almost 20 years ago. My parents said I overreacted, thus ruining my dad's Father's Day. I said it was Adam who ruined it by going after a kid with autism for no reason. My mom left crying, but I'm not back down and hosting any more events, including what was supposed to be a 4th of July barbecue. What kind of ass do you need to be as an adult man to go after a child? Not the asshole. Your parents should understand that their grandchild has special needs and has to be put first in some situations. Not the asshole. You are great not only for standing up for your son but also for not allowing your family to further enable Adam's behavior. Not the asshole. Your brother fucking sucks. Sorry. Not the asshole. Your brother acted like a jerk. Who does such a mean thing to his nephew? Do your parents have a habit of enabling their adult son's bad behavior? Yikes. Not the asshole, but a 45-year-old man licked 6 slices of pizza on purpose so his nephew wouldn't eat? What the fuck is wrong with him? Not the asshole. He took 6 pieces? What the fuck? Not only is that an abnormal portion of pizza for one sitting, but he was at someone else's house, and it's common etiquette to not take lots of food for yourself at guest house. The fact he didn't apologize is just a nail in the coffin. Sorry your family didn't back you up, you're in the right here. Fuck that guy. Am I the asshole for not telling my wife my kids didn't want her to adopt them? My late wife died 6 years ago, when our kids were 3, 5 and 6. I remarried 18 months ago and my wife has known my kids for 3 years now. She had brought up adoption to me about 2 weeks before we got married. She told me she would love to ask the kids their feelings after the wedding and maybe start the process when we legally could, which is 6 months into our marriage. What I never told her is my kids had already expressed to me that they were worried about being adopted and didn't like the idea. This was prior to me getting engaged. My oldest was the one with the strongest concerns because he remembers his mom the most. But none of the kids liked the idea that they would no longer have their mom's name on stuff, i.e. their birth certificate and other documents. I reassured them it would never happen as long as they were against it. Honestly, I know my late wife would have wanted them to be loved but would have also hoped for an adoption not to take place. She herself struggled with her father being erased by the time she was 2. He died before she was born, and when her mother chose to remarry they chose to act like she was her stepfather's, who adopted her biological child. She only learned the truth as an adult, and I know it terrified her while she was sick that she would be replaced, especially when our youngest baby was too young to remember anything about her. I ended up telling my wife no, and we discussed it for a while actually. She was upset but didn't push it. Then a few weeks ago her parents asked us about her adopting the kids. They said we all appeared to get along really well and how sweet of a gift it would be to her and the kids. I said it wasn't something we were going to do. They ended up asking the kids afterward, and my youngest was the one who said they didn't want to be adopted, and I knew, which then got back to my wife. She was pissed I never told her. She said she was never given a chance to see if we could figure out a way to do it that would make them happy. I said I didn't see any reason to talk them around. That they are allowed to feel that way. Her thinking we could convince them is part of the reason I never told her. I never wanted it to be something that needed fixing, because there's nothing wrong with how they feel. I also figured it would hurt less. That coming from me, at least we could have an adult conversation about it, but she could feel like the kids were rejecting her. Her family said I should have told her and we should have worked on a solution with the kids together. I said no solution was needed. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, and you are absolutely correct. This does not need to be resolved or fixed. It needs to be accepted. The children came up with a solution. They do not want to be adopted, and she and her family need to respect how they feel and back off. ETA not the asshole forgot to put a judgment. Not the asshole for supporting your kid's choice. This is an extremely sensitive matter, and pushing them to change their minds, like your wife and her family want, is plain wrong. I mean, nothing is fixed in time, and maybe in the future your kids will change their mind on their free will, or maybe they will not. This doesn't mean they haven't a good relationship with their stepmom. The only mistake you did was not to explain the real reason to your wife, because you wanted to avoid an unpleasant discussion. You just had to stand your ground. My kid said no, end of it. But a marriage is full of unpleasant discussion. Going behind your partner's back or omit important facts is never a solution. Not the asshole at all, but they are if they push for it. She should be happy that everyone gets along without feeling the need to adopt them and try to replace their mother. Sadly, their mother won't be a part of their life, and they probably want to treasure her memory. This whole story is so multifaceted. Not the asshole for protecting what your kids want, and it's so sweet they want to remember her that way. I'm an advocate for open communication and full honesty, but I don't know your relationship. If your wife would have pressured your kids to change their minds, you did the right thing by not telling her it was because of them. Your kids don't want or need their minds changed, and trying to do that will only jeopardize the relationship they have with your wife now. Edit. After going through the thread and talking to a few people and reading some comments, I do agree that OP should have said adoption was a no-go from the start, before the wedding. That part is the asshole part, since he admits to knowing that beforehand. Everyone sucks here except your kids. You are right not to force adoption on them, and you were a good dad by asking them to decide for themselves. Your wife shouldn't be trying to force this or fix it. Her parents shouldn't think adoption is a sweet thing to do for your wife. Adoption is way more than a gesture for everyone involved. And you should have been upfront with your wife. You should have been honest with her. You avoided the discussion and caused more disharmony. You handled her badly but seemed determined to make it all your wife's fault for loving your kids enough to ask. You have your share of the blame here. Am I the asshole for not babysitting my niece? This is my 5th time trying to post this, so please bear with me. I am 21F. My niece is 4F. My brother-in-law is 30M and my sister is 28F. From the minute my sister gave birth she has been teaching her daughter consent, that she can say no to anything, that she is not obligated to do anything, etc. This has caused quite a few problems in her marriage because she doesn't make her daughter bond with her father. If her daughter doesn't want to see her father, my sister doesn't make her. This has caused my niece and her father to have little to no bond or relationship. This isn't from lack of trying on my BIL's side. He has tried everything to bond with his daughter, but my sister shuts it down every time because my niece doesn't want to. My sister has a very strict rule that nobody is obligated to talk to, touch, or even look at my niece. This applies to every single person. I don't question it because who am I to question my sister's parenting? I am also very respectful of this rule and have never broken it. Recently she asked me if I would babysit for her while her and my brother-in-law went on a date. I told her if my niece says yes I'll do it, but if she says no I won't. My sister was okay with that. My sister brought my niece to my house and I asked her, my niece, if she wants me to babysit her. She says no. So I tell my sister that I will not babysit my niece. My sister get mad and starts screaming at me and telling me I am a horrible aunt. After all was said and done she left. Later on in the night my parents call me and tell me my sister tattled on me to them. They are on my side and believe I did the right thing and took the best course of action. But I thought I'd come get a second opinion. Am I the asshole for leading my sister on and not helping her in the end? Not the asshole. You didn't lead your sister on, you told her you would do it if your niece said yes, and she agreed to that condition. Your niece said no, so woman shrugging your sister has no right to be pissed off at anyone but herself over this. Not the asshole. There is a line between teaching a kid about consent, and letting a toddler set all rules and call the shots. Thing is, it sounds more like your sister is using the kid to call the shots too. That kid is going to be a treat when she goes to school. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your sister reaped what she sowed. She was fine with that policy until it inconvenienced her. Not the asshole for following your sister's rules. But I think I get an idea of who the asshole is going to be in 10-15 years. NTA, but I'm curious, did you do this to show your sister how ridiculous and unfair it is to her father that she gets in between their time?